So hello, everyone, and welcome to Wellspring's Be Well Wednesday Talk, which is an informational webinar series that discusses a wide range of topics related to the experience of cancer. And today's talk will look at using mindfulness to cultivate self-acceptance, compassion, pride, and belonging. Before we begin, just repeating what was on the slides that were broadcast at the outset, just some housekeeping points so things run smoothly. So as you know, everyone joining the session is on mute, and that's just to minimize background noise. If you do have any questions and answers, please feel free to use the Q&A function on your screen, and we will address the questions at the end of the talk. So thank you for your cooperation. And without further delay, I would like to introduce our facilitator for today, Danielle Gilmore. Danielle is a leadership educator and meditation practitioner. Her practice uses wellness principles and modalities to support self-leadership. And Danielle founded Activated Activists Consulting in 2018 and travels to organizations across North America, providing wellness-centered leadership education rooted in collective healing. We are very excited to have you here, Danielle, and to have you share your extensive knowledge and expertise with the Wellspring community. So welcome, and over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I am excited. Actually, I am beyond excited to be able to participate in this here wonderful Be Well Talk series, Wellness Wednesday, right? I always like to start off and I say, when I hear my bio, I think, that's a fancy way of saying Danielle is someone who is continuing to try, to learn, to grow, to make mistakes, to start over again, etc., etc. And so, as it was said today, we'll be talking about using mindfulness to cultivate self-acceptance, compassion, pride, and belonging. And I want to let everyone know from the beginning that this is not going to be in that particular order, but I will work on making sure that we touch on those topics throughout my presentation. I know we have about 30 minutes or so together today, so I tried to make it pretty concise, bring things together, and also leave the opportunity for questions at the end if anyone has any. I love questions. Give them all to me, even if it's just, why are you wearing a burgundy shirt today? I love the questions, and we will make it happen. So let me get here. I'm not technologically savvy, so I'm going to beg your pardon beforehand, just in case I do something weird. I promise I'll come back stronger than ever if I do. Here we are. So it's me again, right? You've heard all of this already. I just like my cool picture there with the books in front of me. And I'll tell you all that I actually read all of those books there in front of me. I love to read, love to read. More about that later. So I am Danielle Gilmore here in front of you all and excited to be. Looking forward to our time together. See, I told you all, if I do something weird, you got to just stay with me. I'm going in reverse there. Before I move on, right? It's June. It's Pride Month. I just want to give a very quick shout out to all those who are celebrating or have loved ones who are celebrating or watching their loved ones and the others celebrating. Happy Pride. And I'll tell you all, my partner and I just celebrated 5 years of marriage in January. And so I just want to be very, very grateful and show gratitude to all those who came before us to do the work, all of those who are with us now doing the work to continue to make it possible for us to love how we so choose. So happy Pride to everyone who's celebrating or knows someone who is. We're going to have a great time this weekend all over Toronto. Join us. So what we're going to do today, our time together. Again, I told you I want to keep it very brief and concise, but we're going to touch on as many areas as we can that relate to community wellness and the cultivation of relationships, mindfulness, and the many different ways that we can be, and self-leadership. I like the self-leadership piece because I'll tell you all, I love leadership. I got the opportunity to get my master's degree some time ago in leadership and development and organizational culture. and it's my jam. And so anytime that I get the opportunity to talk a bit more about it, I do so. Again, any questions that arise around any of these topics, I'm looking forward to having more of a discussion about them in a bit. So I want to jump right into it. I've said it now more than a few times that we have a little bit of time together, and I'll tell you all too, I like to repeat myself. So if you get tired of me repeating myself, just ask the question for me to stop doing so, and then I'll address it as best as possible. So community wellness, what is it all about? And I asked this question because I've had the opportunity to facilitate many, many, many workshops, especially since COVID hit us and we were all pretty much in our homes or any other safe spaces for about 3 years. So, what is it all about? And to keep this simple, many statistics show us that when we're healing in any way, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, having a support system in place is important to our experience overall. And I like to add this into my presentations because you probably can hear the accent. I didn't know I had an accent until I moved to Toronto, and I've now heard it probably 75,000 times. Where are you from? And I've now gotten to the point where I'm playful and I say, I'm from Toronto. What do you mean? Right? No, I'm from the US. I am from a small little area called Indiana in the US. And so I moved to Toronto about 5 years ago. I got married and my partner lives here. And so we decided, okay, we'll start out in Toronto and potentially go back to the US, but I can't lie, keep my secret that I love it here so much that I may want to stay here for all eternity, whatever that looks like. But yeah, this whole idea around community, it means something to my heart. It's near and dear to me because my family and the friends that I happen to the friends that I happen to make in the US, of course, are still there. And so being here in Toronto, I've had the opportunity to develop community around myself by getting out, volunteering, connecting with some of my coworkers, also working with individuals who also have meditation practices, so on and so forth. And as I continue to cultivate community around myself, I do see it helpful in me getting more acclimated to what goes on in Toronto and me being willing to reach out and to connect with individuals who do not share my background because Toronto is one of the most diverse cities in North America, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be here and get to experience some of what I had and just saying hi to someone who does not look like me. So, community, right? And what are some of the ways that we can go about cultivating community? And I know some of these bullet points here, you're probably like, what novel ideas, right? That's simple. But is it really, right? Prioritizing our friendships. When I talk about this in other on other programs and workshops, I talk about this in the sense of not simply saying, okay, I'm going to prioritize my friendships by being there and showing up and letting others show up for me. Yes, that is the bulk of it. But also, I like to think that prioritizing our friendships looks like putting boundaries in place, looks like saying, please help me when we need help, looks like saying, hey, I don't feel the best today, but I still want you around me. Or, hey, I don't feel the best today and I want to be alone. Whatever that looks like, right? Prioritizing, cultivating our friendships takes work, right? And that is one way that we go about building community by showing up as authentic as we choose to, or what authenticity looks like for us, and connecting with others. The same with our coworkers, neighbors, etc. I add that in there because sometimes these individuals can be our friends, but sometimes they're associates that we're getting to know. And I have learned since I've been here that my coworkers and colleagues can definitely be individuals that I can forge connection with, even if that's just in our workspace, right? Because sometimes those relationships don't leave our workspace walls because, there's the separation of church and state there. Sometimes I want you to be my colleague and be supportive in my workspace. But once I'm out of there, I don't want anything to do with what's going on there. And that's okay too. That is quite all right. Or our neighbors, right? I happen to live in a really social area. And so I can be walking down the street. I like to take walks every day when I get up in enough time. which is most days, but sometimes I like to sleep in. I take walks in the mornings and I have my neighbors just kind of come out of their doors. Hi. And there's some of them who I've actually exchanged names with. So I'll be walking, good morning, Danielle. And it's exciting to know that someone is using my name to speak to me, and I get the opportunity to do the same with someone I share a community with. So our neighbors. I put etc. there because it could also be the person at the grocery store, right? The person where we go and get our car fixed, or the person that we do see walking down the street in the opposite direction each morning. Whatever the case may be, connection, connection, connection. And this last piece, I'll say, when I start to talk a bit about this, I sometimes have looked at people on camera who kind of like roll their eyes a little bit, and I get it, but spending more time with our families and loved ones, right? I love my family, but I think the extent of my time spent with them is about 48 hours, right? Before I'm like, this has been wonderful. I love you all very much. And now I want to go back to my own space. And on a good, week, I could say 72 hours. But anything over that, we're starting to get into territory I don't want to be in. Excuse me, water. I sit right in front of a window and I have allergies, so the pollen's like fighting me sometimes. But yeah, spending more time with our families and our loved ones, right? Because who knows us better sometimes than the individuals who we grew up with, or the individuals who raised us, or those who are cousins or extended family members, or those who we've had many, many dinners with, or picnics with, or family reunions with. It's essential to let these individuals in on some of what's going on in our lives if we feel safe to do so. And that's the same with our coworkers, neighbors, friends, if we feel safe to do so, because our safety matters. Our safety matters. And so in spending time with our families and our loved ones, we get the opportunity to bring them into our world, right? I'm sad. I need support in this area. I got this news today that has left me feeling upset, or I'm confused, or I have a lot of joy going on right now because I planted my garden and it's actually starting to flower. I love flowers. The neighborhood that I live in has lots and lots of beautiful flowers. And so I literally stop and smell the roses sometimes. They're wonderful. But also this whole loved ones aspect, right? Something that I feel really, really strong about is we can build our family. It doesn't have to be those who share a bloodline with us. We can select someone and say, hey, you're part of my family now because I love you. I have loved you for some time. You love me. You're my family now. Doesn't just only mean those who we were born to or those who were born to us. So this is some of the ways that we can go about cultivating community. And something that I failed to say at the beginning of this, and I love, love, love to make sure I say this in any presentation, webinar, etc., that I get to do. Anything that I lay out is a working definition, right? Working concepts, working ideas. And what that means for me is this is about the mastermind, which is all of us who are participating today. So anything that I lay out there you don't agree with, that's fine. Anything I lay out there you do agree with, that's fine. Anything you would tweak or change a bit, that's fine. I say that because some of these ideas you may say, I like this, but I don't like that. Or I don't like either of those. Or I like all three. Whatever the case may be, we are here to cultivate all of this together. And I want you all to know that we are a community right now. So let's give ourselves a round of applause for showing up and being here on our Wednesday afternoon. We could have been doing something else, like smelling the roses or eating some food, which hopefully we'll get to do after this. Next bit here, mindfulness. I love, love, love. I got to show you I love, love, love mindfulness. And I wanted to put it out there as big as possible that this is not just meditation, right? I'm someone who's had a meditation practice now for probably about 14 years. And I'll tell you, over those 14 years, it's been some start, some stop, some here, some there, some go. And I still consider myself to definitely be a beginner, definitely. In fact, I get the opportunity to spend time with people who've had practices that have been growing much longer than mine. And it's humbling that they still consider themselves to be beginners as well, because we always are. There's no point to reach, right? There's no ending place, no finish line, so to speak. One day at a time is the approach that I try to take with all of this. But I wanted to lay this out here as well. This whole mindful piece, right? Mindfulness piece, right? Mindfulness, all of the above. We can find this in so many different areas of our life that we seem to overlook, right? Because I do think that on these opportunities that I've gotten to facilitate workshops around cultivating mindfulness practices and meditation practices, etc., sometimes we seem to think that it only looks one way. If I'm not sitting on a meditation cushion, like the picture there with my legs folded all awkwardly with my feet, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not meditating. And it's just not true. It's just not true. So some of the ways that I found myself in meditation, nature walks, right? I love, love, love. And keep in mind, I like to use love in three. Love, love, love. I love to walk out in nature. I usually present in my bio that I am a tree hugger, right? And I'm not talking about any concepts or ideas around what tree huggers are. I literally hug trees from time to time because I think they're wise, right? They've been there much longer than I have, more often than not. And two, sometimes it just feels nice to put my arms around something that will exist after I'm gone. And as I said, probably existed before I was here. So on my nature walks, I like to hug trees, right? I hope they like me hugging them. I don't always know how to ask for consent, and consent is essential. I'll be thinking about that going forward. Body scans. In fact, I think we'll do one together today. I'll tell you all, I like to make some of this up as I go along. So we may do a body scan here today, depending on what time looks like for us. But a body scan in its simple form, right? Taking it from the top of our head on down to our feet, right? What's it feel like on the top of my head? What's it feel like on my face? What's it feel like in my chest area or my shoulders? Am I tense? Am I uncomfortable? What happens if I drop my shoulders? You know, what feel like in my chest? Is my heart beating faster than it usually is in this meeting that I'm participating in? It's a simple way for us to get centered in ourselves in the ways that we go about doing so. So the body scan, top of the head, down to the feet. And I'll tell you all, I've spent hours on retreats during these body scans, up and down, up and down. I enjoy it sometimes. Sometimes then it gets to be a little, overwhelming because a lot of these retreats I've participated in, there's no electronics, things like that. So sometimes my idea of a good time. But that's when I do the long, long version of body scans. But also, too, I've learned how, and I've had the opportunity to help others learn how to do them very quickly. So if I'm sitting, I'm uncomfortable, very quickly. How does it feel here? Or how does it feel there? How does it feel there? And make my way down. And it's very helpful in getting centered in whatever space I find myself in that may be bringing up emotions that are making me uncomfortable. And if not uncomfortable, they may be making me feel confused, or I'm finding frustration, or I'm finding, I don't know if there's a such thing as too much joy, but I will say that sometimes when something excites me, I can get a bit anxious about it and not want it to go away because it feels good, whatever it may be. But in those moments when I pause, I stop for a bit and I scan my body. I find some resolve. The same with breathing exercises. We may also do one of those too. Again, depending on the time that breathing exercises. One of my favorite, my absolute favorite that I love, 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 I told you would be in threes, is box breathing. Very simple, very simple. And that's why I love it so much. And again, just like the quick body scan, we can also break into the quick box breathing that helps us kind of get situated and centered in moments where we have an emotional upheaval of some sort. So the box breathing, right? We breathe in for the count of 4. We hold it for the count of 4. Then we breathe out for the count of 4. and then we hold it again for the count of 4. And this is called box breathing because when we're doing this, we can think about the box that we're building there with our breath, right? Count of 4, breathe in, hold it, count of 4. Breathe out, count of 4, hold it, count of 4. That's one of my favorite breathing exercises. I do it just about every day in some way. Gentle stretching, right? And when I say this, sometimes, people think, it's all fancy yoga and this and that. And I love yoga. Actually, I'm in the process of working towards getting my 200-hour teacher certificate. I've been working on it now for probably 3 years, but please don't judge me. Work in progress. But gentle stretching, it can be as simple as raising our arm, right? Crossing it over our body, crossing both arms there and hugging ourselves, right? Turning to the back, gently rolling our neck in one direction and gently rolling it in another direction. All of this can be used to help us cultivate mindfulness wherever we find ourselves. Listening to music. I am a music fanatic. Music rocks my world, both literally and figuratively. If you're around, you're liable to see me listening to my favorite songs in my kitchen, using a spatula as a microphone, making my way through whatever meal it is that I'm preparing and dancing and having a wonderful concert to myself. Again, no judgment zone, really. And I say this all the time to my friends and family. If I can't sing, don't tell me because I'm not listening. I'm going to continue to belt out whatever I feel like makes me happy while using the spatula to sing. Try it. Try it. Reading books. Love, 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 love. I added a couple loves in there. Reading books rocks my world. One of the first things that I picked up on as a child that I saw as the most cost effective and efficient vacation. I've traveled all over through books. I love, love, love books. Also, some ways that we can be mindful is preparing our meals. Like I just said, me dancing around the kitchen, etc. What does it mean for us to just kind of get situated in chopping whatever vegetable we're chopping, or being mindful as we watch a pot of water come to a boil, waiting for the toaster to pop our toast up out of there? These are all opportunities for us to be mindful. I'll say an experience I had some time ago, I got the opportunity to facilitate for a union here in Toronto who was having a conference. It was 2 days. And our last day of the conference, we all got together in this large conference room and we simply took steps around the entire room with intentionality and purpose, right? We lined up, we gave some space in between us, and we just walked. Some people had their hands down in front of them, some had their hands behind them, some had clasped their chest. We just walked. And you can imagine how weird we looked when other conference participants came in a little early and saw us in basically, a cha-cha line of sorts, just with meditation. But it was wonderful. And I got a lot of incredible feedback after that with individuals saying, that opened me up to participate in the rest of the conference. It was the last day. I was starting to get a little agitated, some of what I was hearing, but I went back to this whole, and we set an intention beforehand. And someone said, I went back to the intention and I went out on the lunch and did the walk thing again. Thank you. We can keep it simple. We really can. Mindfulness can occur in any way that we so choose. And I just listed out here a few examples, but the possibilities are endless. And what I shared, let me check my time here. We're moving about quickly. Let's just do a quick scan together. How about that? So wherever you are, get comfortable. If you feel safe to do so, close your eyes. If not, please leave them open. You get to choose, and it's not about right or wrong or good or bad. It's whatever we decide. And let's take a deep breath in and let it out. Just like that. Again, no right or wrong way. Take a deep breath in and let it out. And just like I mentioned, start at the top of the head. What's it feel like there? Is it itching? Is it warm? Is the breeze blowing over it like it is because I'm sitting in front of an open window? And I mentioned the pollen, it beats me up. What's it feel like in that area? And from there, let's make our way down to our face, right? Our eyebrows, our eyes, our nose, our lips, our cheeks, our chin, around to our ears. What's it feel like in this area? Is it flushed, right? Is it cold? Is it warm? There a little sweat there? Nice weather today. I got out this morning in a hoodie from my walk and it was really warm. I had to remove it. Glad I had a shirt on under it. Don't want to scare my neighbors. What's it feel like on your face? And how about down to our neck, right? Our neck holds our heads up on it. So it does its job. Sometimes it gets tight and stiff there. What does your neck feel like? And if you feel like this will work for you, tilt it. Go from one side to the next, down, go up. Let's make our way down to our shoulders. How are your shoulders feeling? Like I said earlier when I was discussing this a bit, sometimes we walk around like this and we don't even know it. And so we can just decide to drop them down, let them drop. In fact, if it feels good to do so, tense them up intentionally and then let them drop, just for the dramatic effect of it all. Let's go around to the front of our body, our chest area. What's it feel like there? Is your heart beating faster than normal? Because this facilitator has you doing this weird scan thingy? Or does it feel like it always does, right? Our heart, lots of energy there, lots and lots of energy there, lots of feelings that go through there, depending on our experiences. And from the front area of our body, let's go to our arms. What do your arms feel like? Again, just like our shoulders, are our arms tense? Are we holding them tightly? Are we frustrated and refuse to let it go, or angry, or whatever the case may be? It's all welcomed here with no judgment. Let it go. Let it go. Let's make our way down to our wrist, right? Down our arms to our wrists. What are your wrists feeling like? I know sometimes I get a little pain in my from lifting stuff and driving and all that other stuff. If it feels good to do so, rotate them in one direction, rotate them in the opposite direction. That's only if that feels good for you to do so. You get to choose always. And let's go back to the back of our body, right? The back of our neck, the top of our back, the middle of our back, down to the bottom of our back. What's your back feel like? I'll be turning 40 next year. I'll tell you, in my back, it's catching up to me. I got to do water aerobics this morning, and so it helped feel a little better. But my back feels a little tense. How's your back feel? Is it stretched out? Are you feeling comfortable? Is it aching a little bit? Did you not sleep so well last night? You turned on the other side. No right or wrong. And from our back, let's make our way down to our bum. I got to be honest, living in Canada is the first time I ever heard bum used for that area, right? And now I want to say it out, which is not always appropriate, but bum. What does your bum feel like? We sit on it all day, usually in front of computer screens or in front of televisions or whatever we choose to do. No right or wrong. What's it feel like? You're sitting on it. What's it feel like? And from there, let's go around to our thighs. What do your thighs feel like? We hold a lot of energy in our thighs, lots of energy. And then we'll come up to that midsection a little bit, right? There's no right way to do the scan. You can go up, down, back, forward, whatever feels good to you. How's it feel in your stomach area, in that midsection area? I do a meditation class sometimes where the facilitator says, our stomach is our second brain. right? So anything that we are feeling down there is giving us some kind of message that it may be a good idea to pay attention to. Our stomach. What's your stomach feel like? Mine also has a little grumble in there because I had a small breakfast and I'm ready for lunch. So back to our thighs and down to our knees. What are your knees feeling like? Again, like I shared about that 40-year-old back I got there, I also got 40-year-old knees that don't always love me in the ways I wish they did, but they're just fine when I use them often. How are your knees feeling? Is it aching? Is it tight? Is it just fine? Does it feel wonderful? Very lubricated, very well lubricated joints in your knee. How's your knee feel? And let's go down to our legs, our shin, you know, our calf muscles. How's your leg feel? And just like I said, with our arms kind of tense, sometimes our legs can be kind of tense as well. We're ready to run, that fight or flight that we all got working inside of there. I'm more of the freeze, right? Not the fight or flight. In the freeze, I just kind of stand there like, what is going on? Thanks for listening. You all are being my therapist. But what's it feel like down there? Let's make our way down to our ankles. What do your ankles feel like? And just like we did with our wrists, if you feel okay to do so, rotate your ankles in one direction, rotate them in another direction, if that feels good. Now we're down to our feet. What do our feet feel like? Are they firmly planted? Are you sitting in a cross-legged position and they're on opposite sides? No right or wrong. Either way, good to go. Wiggle your toes a bit. And so what we've done there with that body scan is make our way down from the top of our head to our feet. And then, if you're really good at this, you can come back up from your feet up to your head, but we're going to take it slow. You all will be experts by the next scan you choose to do. Thanks for indulging me. Thanks for indulging me. So self-leadership. I said this and I'm mindful of time, mindful. Self-leadership, right? I talked about this at the beginning. I love, love, love leadership. And I think without it, it's really difficult for us to cultivate relationships, find pride in anything that we're doing, put together a mindfulness routine or practice, or even become mindful of our community without some self-leadership there. And so self-awareness, I put this there intentionally as the first bullet point. It's understanding our own emotions, motivations, beliefs, etc. Right? Understanding ourselves, right? Our values, what they mean to us, what we will do, won't do, what our boundaries consist of, where we will go, won't go, how we will ask for help or support, what kind of support or help are we willing to give? Self-awareness. And it's a continuation, right? I don't think I'm ever going to be completely aware of what's going on in here because it's constantly shifting. Something tells me that it's the same for you who've decided to join us today. So we are all on this journey together, holding metaphor hands, virtual hands, however we want to say it. We are in this together because together we get better. So continuous learning and growth, right? Seeking out new knowledge, right? Staying adaptable, acquiring new skills. Our world is rapidly changing. And anytime I share this, it makes me think about how we just found ourselves outside of 3 years of basically being in our homes or safe spaces. Who could have saw that coming, right? A pandemic on such a large scale. We had no clue, but many of us adjusted and adapted to our rapidly changing world. The last one, self-management, right? Managing our time, our resources, our energies efficiently, practicing self-care, maintaining a healthy work-life balance, and managing stress. And I want to be clear that I laid this out here because I think that it falls in alignment with some of what I want us to leave with in this area. There's no perfect way to do any of this, right? No one is completely stress-free. If they are, I want to meet them and have them give me their autograph. No one's completely stress-free, not self-free, stress-free, maybe a Freudian slip. Our work-life balance is continuing to develop, right? Because what looks like balance this week may not look the same next week because we have reports due or whatever the case may be. So again, all of this is continuously shifting and changing. But one thing that I want us to leave with understanding is that we can continue to be compassionate with ourselves in the process of this relationship cultivation, mindfulness, practice development, community building, etc. Compassion is essential. I found this cute little video. It's all of 2 or 3 minutes, and I hope it actually plays with sound and all that good stuff because, as I mentioned, I am not the most technologically savvy. But let's see. And if you can't hear it, someone will let me know and I will figure out what I did horribly wrong. Okay, let's see if it'll play. Can we hear that? Someone, anyone, let me know.
I cannot hear it.
You,
So try press play one more time.
you can't hear it?
Cannot hear it, no.
So here's what I think I have to do. Let me stop sharing. And then I'm gonna go into sharing again because there's a little doohickey that I have to hit there before I share my screen. Okay, share again.
Sounds like an odd idea initially.
How about that? You can hear it now?
We can hear it.
Wonderful.
Because we naturally imagine a friend as someone else, not as a part of our own mind. But there is value in the concept because of the extent to which we know how to treat our own friends with a sympathy and imagination we seldom apply to ourselves. If a friend is in trouble, our first instinct is rarely to tell them that they are fundamentally a shithead and a failure. If a friend complains that their partner isn't very warm to them, we don't tell them they're getting what they deserve. We try to reassure them that they're essentially likable and that it's worth investigating what might be done. In friendship, we know instinctively how to deploy strategies of wisdom and consolation that we stubbornly refuse to apply to ourselves. There are some key moves a good friend would typically make, which can provide a model for what we should, ideally, be doing with ourselves in our own heads. Firstly, a good friend likes you pretty much as you already are. Any suggestion they make or ambition they have about how you could change builds on a background of acceptance. When they propose that you might try a different tack, it's not an ultimatum or a threat. They're not saying that you have to change or be abandoned. The friend insists we're good enough already, but they want to join forces with us to solve a challenge they feel we would properly benefit from overcoming. Without being flattering, good friends also constantly keep in mind certain things we're getting right. They don't think anything wrong with the odd compliment and emphasis on our strengths. It's quietly galling how easily we can lose sight of all our own good points when troubles strike. The friend doesn't fall into this trap. They can acknowledge the difficulties while still holding on to a memory of our virtues. The good friend is compassionate. When we fail, as we will, they are understanding and generous around our mishaps. Our folly doesn't exclude them from the circle of their love. The good friend deftly conveys that to err, fail, and screw up is just what we humans do. We all emerge from childhood with various biases in our character, which evolve to help us cope with our necessarily imperfect parents. And these acquired habits of mind will reliably let us down in adult life. But we're not to be blamed because we didn't deliberately set out to be like this. We didn't realistically have a lot of better options. We're indelibly required to make big decisions before we ever really understand what's at stake or how our choices will play out. We're steering blind in all our large moves around love and work. We opt for a move to a different city, but we can't possibly know whether we're going to flourish there. We have to select a career path when we're still young, and we don't know what our later needs will be. In long-term relationships, we have to make a commitment to another person before we understand what it will be like to tie our lives so deeply to theirs. The good friend knows that failures are not, in fact, rare. They bring as a starting point their own and humanity's vivid experience of messing up into play as key points of reference. They're continually telling us that our specific case might be unique, but that the general structure is common. People don't just sometimes fail, everyone fails, only we don't know about it. It's ironic, yet essentially hopeful, that we usually know quite well how to be a better friend to near strangers than we know how to be to ourselves. The hopefulness lies in the fact that we do actually already possess the relevant skills of friendship. It's just we haven't as yet directed them to the person who probably needs them most, namely, of course, ourselves.
I thought that was just the cutest. I also love the accent of the person who was, taking us through the whole cartoon. I thought it was wonderful. And I wanted to share it because we've gone through so many ideas here about ways that we can go about creating community or wellness programs or mindfulness practices, etc. And I know myself, I can think that when I hear this stuff, I'm supposed to go and do it all in the next 15 minutes, right? I'm supposed to alter my way of being, my attitude, some of the things I said wrong 5 days ago, etc. And for me, I have to continue to come back to self-compassion. And I love how this video says we'll never get it perfect. None of us are. None of us ever will be. But we continue to work on some of these things. And hopefully by doing so, they improve our lives in whatever ways that we hope them to do so. So that's it for me today. And all I have to say is thank you. My little thank you is a little blurry, but that does not all take away from what it means for me to say thank you to everyone who came to spend time to sit and listen to me. You could have been doing anything else. Also, I don't know what's going on, how you're feeling, but I'm glad you're here. And I'm sending the biggest hug to everyone. With consent, of course. Like I said with the trees earlier, consent is essential. So if you want a hug, consider it given. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Any questions?
Yes, thank you so much, Danielle. That was incredibly insightful and engaging, and thank you for the body scan that helped as well.
Sure.
So grateful for that. If anybody does have any questions and answers, they can they can go ahead and put it in the Q&A section. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Danielle, for mindfulness activities like breathing exercises, meditation, body scans, for somebody who's new to that, are there any facilitators or apps or YouTube videos that you recommend, or should people just do some research on their own? What do you recommend to a beginner?
Sure, that's a wonderful question. The first thing that came to mind when you said YouTube, you can simply go on there and search beginner meditator, and countless videos will come up from facilitators who actually specialize in helping individuals from the beginning of their programs, which is something that I kind of get the opportunity to do as well. But you put that in there. Also, there are a couple apps that I use. One of them is called Headspace. Really awesome. It's an unpaid app. There are some, you can get some paid features for it, but I like to use them, the unpaid version. Another, I'm looking it up, it's called Insight Timer. So I use it most days, and it's wonderful because it has a timer there that you can use, or it also has different facilitators going through certain issues like forgiveness or kindness to oneself. So I would say Headspace and Insight Timer are two apps that I use. And I'd say YouTube, a wonderful place for resources. And also books by authors like Tara Brach. Just wonderful, wonderful authors to help us cultivate radical compassion for ourselves.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Another question. So again, for somebody who is starting out again with meditation or breathing exercises, or even taking a walk in nature, or any of the list of mindfulness activities you have, beginner, non-beginner, what do you do when you have all those distractions, the busyness of the day in your mind, the grocery list for the next day? How do you have any tried and true tips for quieting the mind?
You accept them.
Yeah.
You absolutely accept them. And I don't want to sound like Obi-Wan Kenobi or anything like that. You accept them. You really do. Something that continuously comes up for me. Actually, I was on a retreat a few weeks ago, actually a month or so ago, and there was someone there who got offended by this idea of needing to clear their mind because there's someone who wrestles with OCD and other things like that that constantly have them ruminating. And this person, and I understood their feelings, but no one's asking us to clear our minds. We're simply showing up. And I like to tell people acceptance is the answer. If my mind's all over the place, my mind's all over the place, but that doesn't impact me walking. Or if the grocery list is up there in my head around, do I get broccoli or asparagus or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that the grocery list running through there is wrong. But also, too, it doesn't have to stop me from remembering to breathe while I'm in the kitchen preparing whatever it is that I'm preparing. So acceptance, I would say acceptance and compassion, compassion, compassion. I started out meditating 5 minutes a day, and I found that to be a huge undertaking. I would fiddle around, I would get uncomfortable, I'd want to check my phone. This was probably, like I said, 14 years ago or so. And starting out at 5 minutes, I've made my way up now to some days I do 2 hours, an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening. Sometimes I do 30 minutes. And as honest as I know to be, sometimes I still do those 5 minutes if my day has been completely all over the place and in disarray. And I'll sit down for 5 minutes and I'll listen to a breathing program. I have a couple different programs. Excuse the noise here. I'm looking out of my window. But yeah, 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes. If you can't do 5 minutes, start with 2 minutes. If you can't do 2 minutes, start with 1 minute. But whatever you start with, make sure compassion is there. That's it. That matters most.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So I think that's it, and that's perfect because we are at our ending time.
Wonderful.
So thank you once again. This was
Thank you.
just wonderful. Thank you to everyone that was able to join us today. Keep your eyes on the calendar for other Be Well talks.
Wonderful.
And again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Last thing I'll say, thank you so much to Wellspring. The work you all are doing is essential for our community. So I thank you for what you're doing. And I thank you, everyone who chose to join us. Glad you're here.
all right, take care, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.